Hey folks, we're going to continue working on Bastions today, the Bastion campaign supplement that we're going to be publishing on DMsGuild to add degrees of success, risk and reward, and a means of generating adventures through the new Bastion system that's been presented in the Dungeon Master's Guide 2024. So give me a second here to check my signal, make sure everything's coming through okay. I've had some weirdness happening on my computer. My chroma cam and OBS crashed, and then Photoshop couldn't read stuff. Chroma cam and OBS crashed. It was weird. I would have been on earlier, but I just spent an hour messing around with that stuff, and I finally got it all working together again. Oh boy, that stuff stresses me out. So, no rest for the wicked. So, as it were, we're going to grab link here. I'm going to do some posting here real fast. We're going to get to work for a couple hours here today. Let's see. Just for those that don't know, hey, my name is Theurgy. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. I've been creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, publishing it on the DMsGuild since 2017. I've been a freelance artist since 1999. I've been a Magic the Gathering enthusiast since 1993 or 4. And I've been a DM for Dungeons & Dragons since 1987. So I've talked about this before. The Bastion system that Wizards has produced for 5e is a very streamlined version of what the Dominion gameplay system in original Dungeons & Dragons Basic Expert Edition, BECME, Basic Expert, Companion Master, Immortal box sets. It's a much lower fidelity than what the previous, even what 3rd edition had been. It's very social. It's like if you have 3 gears where combat is 4-wheel drive, social exploration is just exploration is more of like being in drive or in gear. And social interaction is basically in neutral. There's no real dice being rolled, no real rules involved. It's just social interaction, talking to things in game. Ability checks or exploration mode is generally just exploration checks, maybe some saving throws occasionally. And then combat, the 4-wheel drive, is when you have precise action economy, actions, bonus actions, movements, reactions, object interactions, all very high fidelity, very clutch popping and gear shifting during play. So you have those 3 different levels or gears of activity. And what was in previous editions more of an exploration roll for results sort of affair, the Bastion system for 5e has been downshifted into neutral as just a social interaction that has set bonuses that you get over time. You can either have them or you can't. And so if you've selected X, Y, and Z off of your menu, like if you select the greenhouse off your list, you can make a couple types of poisons and a type of potion. And if you want to have more potions and poisons, you also then have to select the garden and the laboratory. And you only have maybe 3 or 4 different options, and that just ate up 3 of them to give you specific gear and loot rewards that you otherwise may have needed to find in an adventure or engage in downtime activity to go find and set up a resource. So the objective of this project is to shift back and return the Bastion idea, or the idea of Dominion gameplay, back to being an ability check sort of system that has successes and failures, and those failures create plot hooks to drive your character to have more interaction. So, well, hey Steve, how you doing? Just to finish up my intro here, let me fix my windows. There you go. I'm on X Twitter. If you're on the X Twitter platform, I'm at Phil Kearney. That's where I post illustrations works in progress, coupons, announcements, articles, stuff like that. Be welcome to check it out. If you want, here on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell. Hey, new subscribers, thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, bell icon for notification of when we're live in the future, which is 10 times per week, Monday through Friday in the morning. Typically Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, though sometimes instead of Mondays, it's Wednesdays, so those days will flip. And then Thursday night and Saturday morning. So I'll be back tomorrow morning from Seattle time, about 9:30 till noon, to continue working on the Bastion system. And here's the playtest document. Down here, if you click here, it'll open up a Google Doc. It's a read-only, look, don't touch document for you guys. And when we finish it, it will be on, I'll publish it to DMsGuild. And like, for example, the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration, we basically spent all of 2024 building the Spelljammer book here on stream. And it's a 107-page book, and you can see here the entire document is free preview. So when I build a book, the entire thing is available for you guys to read, no cost. As a small indie publisher on a very large platform, it's kind of hard to stick out. So I generally find if I just share what it is that we're building, if people believe in what I do, they'll end up supporting me one way or another. So God bless you if you do. I just want you to absorb the information so that you can see how I think about games. And so if those ideas compel you, if you run across me doing playtesting and stuff in the future, jump into my Discord. Hang out if you're interested. Discord community is here. You don't have to have access. You don't have to pay or anything to have access to it. Though, if you want to support me, I do have a Patreon channel that you can lean into. But so here is but yeah, here's the playtest document that we're working with. Bastions. Let me knock this. You can see here the full document. I'm going to knock this out of the way. Bop, 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 and then let's peel open my command folder. Here's the same. I'm going to peel this one out so you guys can read along with me if you want while we go and do this. When we were here last time, we'd completed running through the entire list of all of the different facilities that are in the Bastion system, and we broke them down into either perks that you can invest into to benefit your characters in campaign, or the different 7 different orders that you can issue to your Bastion to do things basically as downtime activities, whether you're crafting, which is creating non-magical items, powering, which is creating magical items, harvesting, which is creating either magical items from like plants and non-magical items from plants and animals, like rations, for example, or booze like ale. You would harvest that from basically like barley or rye or whatever kind of vegetable resources you have at a settlement or that you're trading to get access to into your warehouse. Then there's maintain, which is things like recruiting people, maintaining a lifestyle for your Bastion, stuff like that. Recruiting is attracting the attention of, like, while maintaining is more like keeping your Bastion in order, franchising, expanding territory and land that you have control, or like investing in the governance of an established settlement. That's generally what maintain means, while recruiting is like hiring a small army, finding a specialist to help you create a magic item, wrangling a monster to help defend your territory, stuff like that. While research is generally like book smart stuff, but it can also be magical scry work or legend lore, as well as like spy networks. And then trade is a pretty straightforward statement. It gives you means of accessing, like if you're going to have material to craft and power and harvest things, you either have to have a territory or like a settlement where your Bastion is located, and your hirelings are literally harvesting those resources, those materials from the environment, whether it's plant life that's been planted and now you're harvesting the crops, or if it's herds of animals that you're either that you're herding, herding, herd, or otherwise like beekeepers, for instance, that would technically be harvesting honey from beehives. And then there's like a mineral harvesting, which is like extracting minerals from the earth, like a gold mine or an iron mine. It could also be considered like a pearl farm, where you have oysters in the ocean and you're harvesting pearls from the oysters. Like if you have, like what spell requires a pearl to perform? I think it's like Force Wall or something like that. Force Cage, maybe. I don't recall specifically, but I think there's something that requires pearls. Anyway, those are basically the three types of resources that you either harvest by developing your own settlement to do it yourself as part of your bastion, or you establish trade lines with another settlement that already has those resources, those materials in place that they can export to you. So you can then perform a task of committing trade with a settlement that, say, provides leather goods and stuff that you would need to make light armor, for instance. Light armor and like light leather materials like pouches and stuff like that. So that would be animal and plant, and for buckles and stuff, that would be all three. Animals for the leather and the wool, for instance. Plants for cotton or canvas weave, and then minerals for iron, for clasps and other metals to embellish or fancy up the items that you're making. So you could trade for those, or you can establish in the campaign world where a gold mine is. You can then drop a settlement as part of your bastion that you are controlling to now have access to that gold mine and start developing it. Well, you would, as your bastion grows in resources, you would be able to invest more resources into stabilizing that mining operation. You could invest in a facility, which would then allow you to, for example, scroll down here to facilities. And we get past the theoretical ones, the works in progress that we finished last time. Now we need to disperse them. Like, for example, a storehouse you could have right away. And a storehouse, if you were to invest a point of resources, you would have a first rank storehouse, which would allow you to store one type of material between plants, animals, and minerals. And you would always have enough material in the storehouse to produce any item that can be crafted, empowered, or harvested by a first rank bastion, which is typically common magic items or non-magic items in value up to 100 gold pieces. So magic items are mundane items. As long as you can empower, you can do magic. If you can craft and harvest, if you craft, harvest, and empower, you can do all three of those things. But at low levels, you aren't proficient in everything. So you could do anything, since you're not really good at doing all of them until your guild is, your bastion is proficient in that specific type of order. There's 7 orders. The 3 that we're spotlighting here right now is craft, harvest, and empower. You automatically have proficient with maintain. So you can always perform maintain tasks and be able to add dice to increase the chances of success. And as you gain levels, you have one additional order that you become proficient with as you progress, and you could spend points to become proficient in multiple things faster than you normally would. And once you're proficient with something, you can add a bastion die to the ability check the bastion check that you would make when you issue an order. If I want to create a common magic item, I would have to pass a DC of 10. A first rank bastion. Sorry, I keep calling them guilds from the book that I was creating before bastions came out. A first rank bastion has a D20 plus 1 to the die roll. If you invest a point of resources into the task, you get to add an extra D4. At second rank, you can invest 2 points and add a D6 to your D20 plus 2. At third rank, you can, if you invest 3 points, you can put a D8 and add that result to your D20 plus 3. D10 for 4 points for D20 plus 4. And then 5 points, you can invest a D12 to get a to do D20 plus 5 plus D12, and again that common magic item requires a DC of 10. So if a 5th rank Bastion is attempting to create a common magic item DC 10, you're going to roll a D20. You're going to roll. You're going to add 5 automatically, and then you're going to roll a D12. So you're going to start off with a minimum of 7 on a 1 of both D20 and D12. But typically, you're probably going to get 5, 11. You're probably going to average like around a 22. Like 22 would be a standard, like middle of the road result for a 5th rank Bastion to make any kind of roll that you're like investing points in to make effort towards. And so that would, like on the crafting table, if you're empowering a 22, you'd be able to basically assume that you can make a rare magic item, and it would take you a season to do so. There are ways to speed up creating magic items, depending on the rank of your organization. You can, if you have facilities that you've invested in to always be active at your Bastion, they can help increase the speed of creating things. Yeah, if you have an artificer that's helping in the construction of something and is providing one of their artificer plans and using their downtime activity while at the Bastion to aid in the creation of the magic item, that also speeds it up. So an artificer at their Bastion would be able to, a 3rd rank, like say a 3rd rank artificer, like 9th level, in a 3rd rank facility that's trying to make a rare magic item that your artificer has the plans for, you would then be able to, as an artificer, make a craft check, like an intelligence smith tools check. Your DC would be 20 to create that rare item. It would not take a season to produce it. For you as the artificer with those plans, it would only take a week for you to make that rare magic item. And not only would you have your D20 and your intelligences at say 10th level, it's probably going to be an 18, maybe it's 20, but definitely 18. So you'd have a +4 because you're using tools you're proficient with. You get to add your +4 bonus, so that's a +8 to your D20. And while at your Bastion, if you decide to invest 3 points, you would add a D8 on top of the +4 intelligence, the +4 from your proficiency, and the result of the D20 roll. All that would combine together, and if you at least roll a 20 or better, you'll have successfully made that magic item for that artificer in a week. Somebody else, maybe it would take us a whole season, unless you invested in a facility that allows you to create magic items more quickly. If you fail that die roll, you create a complication. You'll still get the magic item, but something happened that creates a complication that then is the opportunity for you to make an adventure that becomes a plot hook. Like, for example, the default fail state, if you fail to empower an item, if the check fails by 5 or more, it has a minor artifact detrimental property. If the check fails by 10 or more, the item is cursed and has a major artifact detrimental property. The item still works as intended, but now it's got these negative things that go along with it, but you still get the item. You can remove these detriments as a adventure plot hook. So I'm going to go complication. Like, this has a set complication that happens as a result. You get the magic item. It's got an ugly bit to it. You can use the thing while that ugly bit works, and you can make a complication out of it so it becomes an adventure hook for you to remove what that detriment is. So you get the item within a week. It's got a flaw to it, like maybe it makes a loud noise every time you use it. They're boots of stealth, so oh my god, that sucks. So I gotta get that detriment off the magic item. I now can go on a quest, not to find the item, but to remove that effect from the item. And then whatever it is, maybe it's a location, a particular NPC, or maybe like a type of creature that you need to add some sort of a component to that'll help remove that detrimental effect from it. That becomes your mission. Or if you think it's fun and quirky to have that complication in effect, there you go. You could always, you can remove detriments as an adventure plot hook, or you can issue the empower command again to remove the detriment. That feels pretty good. Let's create a little bit more space between that. So this is the general enchant magic item. Requires mana, plant, animal, or mineral material. Requires magical plan. Bastion provides the Bastion hirelings. Provide the magic necessary for rank for items equal to or below the Bastion rank. Otherwise, character must be at the Bastion creating the item to exceed the rarity limit listed below. So if your character's there, this is just what your Bastion can do on its own. If your character shows up and does it themselves and they have the plans and the DM decides they have the resources they need, maybe you have a storehouse that's set up that automatically has all the materials that you're going to need if you want to craft this rare magic item, then you're, like I was just talking about with the Artificer, your character makes the ability check, and if you invest resources into the Bastion helping you make the thing, then you get the Bastion die to add on, basically as a bardic inspiration dies, is basically how you would look at that. So that's one example of how you break down activity. I don't think I need to have a separate, like a separate order for each type of magic item. I just think I need to have just empower as a general order. And if you have the facilities in place needed to be able to create that thing, you can do so. Like, we need to have some sort of harvesting operation to make a potion or a poison. We need to have some sort of like scriptorium or something like that to be able to make a scroll. We would need to have a smithy, armorer, or like a laboratory to be able to create armaments or armor. Wondrous magic items would need like a workshop or a smithy or a carpenter shop to be able to craft those things, which are things that you don't have a limit on how many types of facilities that you can invest in, assuming you have enough points, enough resources to do so. The more points you invest into into facilities that are ongoing effects, the less resources you have free to spend on inspiration dice to help modify the results of the die rolls that either your characters at the Bastion or the Bastion by itself are rolling. And again, every time they fail the ability check, it creates a complication. You don't fail the effect. The complication is preventing you from finishing the order that was issued. You can't make the magic scroll because you failed the die roll. There's a complication that occurred. So, and then we are going to spend the rest of this session determining what are different types of complications that the DM can inject into the narrative as plot hooks for the characters to then explore as adventures. And when they finish the adventure, the adventure is designed to resolve the complication. So while the Bastion is attempting to complete the order that was issued and it hits a complication, it's basically holding those resources until the complication resolves. And when it does, then the task completes, whether within the allotted time period that was already determined and you resolve the complication. Like if it's supposed to take a week to make that, like say, rare magic item and you hit a complication, then if you can resolve it within the week, then there's no added time. If it takes more than a week for your characters to resolve that complication, then those 3 points that in that order that you invested into the Bastion, you can't reclaim that order or those resources until either you just let it go as a failed task, just whatever, I just want the points back to do something else, or you complete the complication, at which point the points and the order complete and they return. They are regained and replenished back into your resource pool, and that order frees up, because you can only perform so many orders. You can only issue so many orders at once, whether you invest resources into it or not. Every time you issue an order, the Bastion is going to make a die roll. So at first rank, you can have 2 orders active at the same time. You don't necessarily have to spend any resources on either one. But again, if you don't, you don't get any of the inspiration Bastion dice. You just roll a d20 plus rank and hope for the best. So at first rank, a small, like a shoe shop is probably going to need to reinvest its resources that it has into maybe just maintaining a lifestyle for itself so you can stay indoors and keep your doors locked. If you have a couple extra resources and you don't have to worry about your currency right now, maybe you could put those points towards gaining additional resources so you can expand your shop and maybe start to make a shoe factory, or like a larger shoe shop that has apprentices and stuff. Or maybe you add an empowerment facility, so when you're making shoes, they can be magical shoes, so you can charge more money to a higher tier of consumer that's interested in exotic footwear like that, for instance. You could really just dive deep into it. Then you get more resources, so then you invest in a storehouse, so you always have the material, so you never have to negotiate for exotic materials that you might need to make a fancy custom order that your characters have. Yeah, I need boots of striding and springing for my 5-man team, and we need it next week. It's like, well, we're going to have to invest 5. That's going to require 5 orders. And at second rank, you can only order 2 issues at a time. So you're probably going to have to dump some of those points into getting extra orders this week. Every extra order is going to cost you 2 points. I only have 6 points. I need 2 more orders. I'm going to put 4 points of my 6 so I can issue 5 orders. All 5 of those orders is make me boots, but only 2 of them, you have to make a roll for each one, and only 2 of them is there enough inspiration for you to be able to add and you couldn't even, if you only had 2 points left, you can either put 1 of those orders, get the D6, or 2 of the orders get a D4 each. And then the other 3 are just going to be naked die rolls. And if we're talking about like an uncommon magic item, that's going to be a DC 15. So if you need those boots, maybe it would make sense for your whole team to stay at the Bastion and you guys focus on making sure those boots get made, so you can use your character's ability checks to help launch the DC of those tasks to minimize the complications. Complications exist because your characters are essentially asking for free magic items or items that don't cost them any money, because the Bastion is basically making it for them out of the money that the Bastion automatically generates. So the task can fail. If instead your characters go offline as downtime activity for a week or a season or even a year to make these things, the chances that they're going to succeed are incredibly high. If they're level appropriate items, you're probably gonna outroll it by like 6 or 8. So there's very like a 7th level character making uncommon boots of striding and spring with a DC 15 and adding a D4 plus your +3 proficiency bonus plus your probably a +4 bonus. You're already getting a minimum of 9 out of a potential 26. 34 out of a potential 34, anywhere from 8 to 34, and you only need a 15. So it's like incredibly likely you're going to succeed at that task. And even if you roll shitty, you still get boots. Just some of them are a little squeaky. So maybe that's a quirk you think is cool. But that also lets the DM throw in all sorts of magic items that just have annoying effects to them, like when you light a torch, for instance, monsters notice you twice as often, or like can notice you further away than normal, or it's almost impossible for you to speak quietly. It's like the torchlight amplifies your noise, stuff like that. So we're going to go through the DMG here. At the end of the workshop, it has a list of Bastion events that we're going to use to lightly frame, just to understand how how WotC 2024 is approaching the idea of encounter options, like complications. Like, this is the root of complications. What do they give us? How can we expand that out into a more robust system that when we fail a die roll, we can look and see, oh, this is the kind of complication that gets created. That's going to create this kind of an adventure. So that's the goal. So that's what we're going to lean into. So stepping aside from all the mechanical options and all of the facilities that can be created with the Bastion system, as it is, we're up to a 22-page document, and it's still very, very loose scaffolding. So I suspect once we finish this thing, it'll probably end up being maybe a 35-page supplement, and we'll be able to use it with Eberron, any of the MTG settings, Theros, Strixhaven, Ravnica, and we might be able to find some ways to like squeeze in some Spelljammer stuff. We'll see. But I want to skip past all the tasks and research stuff. And so let's look at Bastion events. Meditation chamber, you roll twice. That doesn't make sense. I'm going to get rid of that. We already set up the meditation chamber above. So Bastion events, you say. I'm going to just grab this block. There. This is how it'll start. And again, you can read along. I just open up the playtest document in the description down below and join me down here at the bottom of the document. You are welcome to be here. So let's break these up a bit. We're initially just going to go and look at what these things do. We're probably just going to supplant these items and just drop these descriptions into the block, and then we're going to tear it apart and rebuild it. This is a high-level kit bashing. So the way that they have it framed, and this is not the way that we're going to frame it, but immediately after a character issues the maintain order to their Bastion, the DM rolls once on the technically the maintain action with the default neutral gear Bastion system that they have is maintain is don't perform any special tasks for the characters. Just keep the operation going, repair if anything needs to be fixed, and just keep the lights on. And doing so, it triggers a potential Bastion event. Because your character's not getting anything, since you didn't issue a specific order that's going to give your characters some sort of money or item or benefit at the end of the week that it takes to perform that task or whatever. Since it's like wasting your time with your Bastion to maintain stuff, they propose the idea of Bastion events. If you're just going to maintain and keep the lights on, then maybe something happens. So Bastion events occur only when a Bastion is operating under the maintain order, which often means that the Bastion's owner isn't present and the Bastion at that time. See, the way that we change it is that we have these orders and ability checks to issue so that the Bastion can do stuff while your characters aren't there. Let's see, which often means that the Bastion's owner isn't present at the time. That means these, and that means, which means, that means, they're stacking meanings. That means these events can be opportunities for the players to take the role of the Bastion hirelings and role play their reactions to these events. Sure. The DM can even turn a Bastion event into a cutscene where each player takes on the role of the Bastion hirelings whose characters own the Bastion. This leans into the nested cascading adventuring teams that operate at different levels. You have your high level primary character, and then you have like mid guards that might oversee your operation but stay at the Bastion in general just to make sure nothing burns down. And then you have low level gophers that you can send out to resolve low rank complications that may arise to your Bastion that are not important enough for your mid guards to resolve. So it starts off as the Bastion tries to resolve it, gets a complication, send out your gophers to try to resolve the task as potentially a second Bastion task of recruits, deploy, and that becomes a task or an order that has the D20 plus your Bastion level plus whatever your Bastion die, inspiration die is. And if your gophers can resolve the problem, then the complications resolved and sally forth, but it probably caused a delay in completion. If the gophers fail, then you send out your mid guards. So let's just break this down structurally. So characters issue an order to the Bastion. So let's go with order of operations. This isn't the right term to use, but we're going to use it for now. It's close. One. Characters issue an order. 2. Make Bastion D20. Make Bastion D20 test. Succeed. Complication. It's not succeed or fail. It's succeed or complication. There's a lot of language going on, a lot of discourse in orbit around 5th edition that your characters during their turn, if they roll the die and they fail and thus they don't achieve anything, it feels bad. And if it's going to be 30 minutes until it's your character's turn again, then yeah, that would feel bad. I feel like I'm wasting my time here. But if you have fast rotation in and out of combat, then almost all characters are engaging something at some time, and there's very little downtime between them being engaged with what's next. So I don't believe that philosophy that failing a die roll feels bad. Having the player feel like they aren't doing anything, or that what they want to do has no consequence or no impact on the game, that's what feels bad. So if in 30 minutes you only have 1 or 2 die rolls, and if you failed, nothing happened, that feels bad. If you don't know how to reduce the amount of time it takes for that character to do something meaningful, then yeah, maybe you should be exploring a system where even though they rolled like crap, at least they did something. So they don't feel like they're not, so they feel like they're actually participating instead of like failing and not getting to play. So, but that's more of a game philosophy and like how the game system is ran, and to a certain extent, a DM experience of being able to manage the table. I respect some of these 2024 new contenders that are coming out, attempting to take that responsibility on for the DMs that would theoretically be playing these games. But you also have to be concerned about how much holding of the hand are you doing, and how elegantly are you actually curving this cannot fail when you roll sort of idea. The way that we're approaching it with this Bastion system is it's not so much that failing doesn't feel good. It's the default is that you're going to succeed. You always succeed at these tasks. It's just, how can we seed bastions to create more adventures so that the campaign can be rooted in what are you trying to achieve through your Bastion, and how does your character help achieve those goals. So the player in the campaign that the playtest campaign that I'm running right now with this system, I've been running since February. And the way that it's oriented, it's an asteroid belt mining campaign. It's a Spelljammer campaign set in Eberron. There's an asteroid belt that's in orbit around around Eberron, as it's called the Tears of Sybaris, I think, and or is it? I know there's Tears of Saloon Tears of Selûne in Forgotten Realms. Is it called the Tears of Sybaris? Anyway, there are a bunch of crystals that are in orbit, crystals and precious metals. So if you have a spelljamming ship that can get into orbit, you can mine them. So that's the mining operation. There's a number of different guilds and different governments that are in orbit mining these materials, trying to. It's basically a resource arms race to feed the different factions and nations on the planet. And the asteroid belt, if you can get to them, is a massive treasure trove of resources that is also plagued with monsters. So when you send a mining operation up there as a command that you've issued, if they succeed the die roll, then they will harvest the minerals from the asteroid and bring it back to be processed as either gold to spend, additional resources to reinvest into their bastion, or they can convert it through empowerment into more magic items, or they can convert it through recruitment into additional adventuring groups, or they can convert it via maintain action to purchase additional territories where they can mine more asteroids every turn. And if there's a complication, like they run into monsters, or there's a military blockade and they're afraid to get too close to it, or they find some sort of lost catacomb, like a dungeon inside the asteroid, and like, we are not stepping near that. So the players are running the guild as if they have this shared ownership of the asteroid belt operation. And then whenever a complication occurs, there might be multiple complications at different locations that are contending for resolution. And the players can only resolve one complication at a time. So you choose which complication you want to pursue personally to resolve the problem, and the rest of the complications that you aren't personally attending to as an adventure are being resolved by the Bastion through the resources that they already have with the hirelings and the help and blah blah blah. So order of operations: characters issue an order to the Bastion. 2, make a Bastion D20 test. Make a Bastion test. Let's just call it make a Bastion test to determine if the Bastion succeeds or encounters a complication. See, you're having an encounter, and the encounter is the complication. 3, players, we'll call it characters. Characters choose to resolve the complication personally as an adventure, or relegate to the Bastion as a new order. 4, as a new order, proceed to step 4. Choose to resolve the complication or personally. This is an adventure hook, or relegate to the Bastion as a new order. Proceed to step 4. Step 4. Bastion. Issue order to Bastion to resolve the complication. Or escalate the complication. To resolve or escalate. To resolve or escalate the complication. 4. If success, the order is completed as The order is completed as intended. As intended. If fails, the complication compounds or perhaps escalates. Five. Repeat step 2 plus. Repeat step 3 plus. There you go. So that loops in. The character's step 3 plus, increasing the DC of the complication 1 degree. If the order and resources expended to while issuing the order and follow up. Let's see. The until the order is completed, all orders and resources expended remain unavailable until the order is completed or the characters choose to abandon the order. Either way, this is horrible English. Either way, the resources and orders are regained at the end of the current Bastion turn, typically 1 week. There, usually 1 week. So that's our cascade. That's the process. It continues to escalate. So you can start off with gophers, which is a low tier, low complication. If it's like, if the gophers that you would have would assumably be of the level invested into the task, whatever is inspiration die it is that you expended resources to roll with the task is generally going to be the level of expertise that the gophers have to complete this task. So if it's a second rank task or a second rank order that you issue, like to make that uncommon magic item, and there's complications, maybe you don't have this exotic material, maybe you need the Eye of a Beholder. Maybe you need the Eye of a Beholder to create whatever this magic item is. Beholders are a CR 11. That's going to put them at a 4th rank. That's a 4th rank creature. If you were to try to recruit a Beholder to defend your Bastion, it would require a DC 25 die roll to just prevent it from killing you and asking it to help. So if you need to get an Eye of Beholder and you don't just have access to one because you don't have a 4th rank resource storehouse on campus with you, then that maybe your complication is, we don't have a Beholder's Eye, we need one. And so that could either be your team's new objective. Let's go hunt a Beholder and grab some eyeballs. That'll be fun. Or it's like, the last thing I want to do is go fight a Beholder. Let's just relegate that to the Bastion to resolve. Presumably, if your Bastion is capable of producing this, that would be a very rare magic item. That basically would require something of that power. So that becomes rank 4. So assumedly, you'd be sending out a rank 4 gopher team to try to resolve the situation. But maybe it was something super simple. Maybe it was only a rank 2 create an uncommon magic item like Slippers of Silence. Well, maybe we need to make those boots from the skin of a cloaker. And a cloaker is a CR 4, I believe. So we can CR 4, that's a second rank task. Second rank magic item requires second rank materials, which means that if there's a complication, yeah, you can complete the item, or you have a complication with it, like we need to go get the cloaker skin. So you send out as NPCs, and just as a single die roll, you resolve it, and it becomes, we got the cloaker's skin, good job. But it slowed your team down an extra week, because that's the time frame that it takes to complete the second rank task. So it should have only taken a week to make those boots, but because you didn't have cloaker skin and you had to send out your team to find it, now it takes 2 weeks. Shit! Our team just got killed by a bunch of cloakers. It is now escalating. So if your Bastion is higher rank than second rank, you could then send out a higher rank rescue team to not only get the cloaker, but also try to retrieve the gophers that have gone missing. Or your team can decide, okay, this is escalated to the point where this is actually an adventure we should participate in. But maybe we're busy doing something what we think is more important, and so, but we are a third rank Bastion, so we're going to send out a higher rank team that's now overclocking the task. So it's a second rank task for an uncommon magic item. We lost our second rank team trying to resolve that complication. It's now a larger complication. So it's upgraded from a second rank to a third rank task. So now we have to send out a third rank team. If we have a third rank Bastion, we already have that personnel on hand. If we don't, it either has to be a player mission, or you're going to invest resources to recruit a specialist that's higher ranked than your guild. And if you fail the die roll to recruit that specialist, not only do they not help you, but now they're sabotaging your Bastion as a complication. So now not only you're missing your gopher team, and you haven't gotten that cloaker skin, and you don't have the resources to go out to recruit somebody because that guy is now attempting to steal your own shit. Now maybe your players decide to get involved, or you just ditch the task altogether, and you lose the team, you lose the time, you'll get the resource back, and you'll get the orders back because they're not being held up anymore. But what's left over is you've now got this third rank threat. Maybe it's an assassin, like a CR7 assassin. That's going to be a third rank in. The CR is 9. Is below 9 or below. So that's going to put it as a third rank threat. And if your characters, if you only have a second rank Bastion and you don't have a third rank Bastion, then chances are that means that your characters are maybe at most like 6th, 7th level, which means that they now have a CR7 assassin to deal with that's trying to snipe your resources. Maybe he's an Underdark assassin that had an alliance with the Cloakers and has a cloak of the Montalban or whatever as its own magic item. So if you can defeat that assassin, you can steal his cloak, and now you have the thing that you needed originally, and you can go get your team back, and all those resources get freed up, the orders get freed up, and finally the magic item that you wanted you now have. Granted, you ended up getting it by killing an assassin, but that's the narrative that goes along with you eventually achieving the thing that you were supposed to have just gotten automatically. Hey, Ked, what's going on? I'm not going... I plan on ranching them. Nothing like a herd of 50 beholders. Well, sir, what you want to do then is you want to invest in a... let's go down to it. You want to invest in a beholder ranch. So let's see, craft, harvest, and trade. Let me find it here real quick. We'll have to clean up this stuff, but research, recruit, commission specialist. You hire a specialist or a high CR creature to perform a task beyond your guild's current abilities. Monsters are unique CR creatures that obey your commands while in your bastion. Fight or use their abilities to benefit your bastions once per week. A beholder is a CR11. That is a 4th rank specialist or a CR4 4th rank monster. Getting that beholder to get on board with you is a DC 25. You'll have to invest 4 of your Bastion's resource points into getting that beholder. But if you succeed at the task and that beholder doesn't kill everybody, then if you keep those 4 points tied up, that beholder is now just a part of your Bastion. You just hired large Luigi or whatever. And if you want to have more of them, then you can start investing into hold on, it's down here. Let's get that out of the way. Storehouse, teleportation circle, training area. Let's get past those. Into empower, recruit, specialist sidekicks. Have to be at least 2nd rank to do that. Lifestyle, diverse workforce, efficient operation, settlement. So you can then establish a settlement where you can keep that beholder in your village, and as you invest more points into that village, you can eventually evolve it into a governorship, so you become the puppet dictator of this community, and it can grow to the size of a city that would be capable of supporting multiple beholders in the environment. And then they become specialist retainers that you can keep folded into your operation. So yeah, you can do that. You can have a beholder ranch if you want. You have to be really high level, and you have to hit really high DCs, otherwise the complications get really nasty really quick. But you can absolutely do that, and I encourage you to do so. Oh yeah, you can have a standing army. Yeah. Let's see. Those are the ideas. So that's the loop. That's the action loop that goes on with that. So that narrative that I just went through of the complication and then trying to resolve it, escalating, trying to resolve it again, escalating to a point where it's beyond your Bastion's abilities to just resolve it in the background without your character's attention. Once you hit that breaking point, now the characters have to deal with it, or they have to let it go as a failure so they can reclaim their Bastion points and they can reclaim their orders to issue new orders. But if it's unresolved, it could create a lingering, like a rival or an ongoing dynamic that's now going to affect your Bastion or your campaign or your character's progress in the future. So the Bastion runs parallel to what your characters are doing. The Bastion is constantly, as you keep feeding orders for the issuing orders to the Bastion to perform, depending on how they succeed or fail at their die rolls, is going to determine how many sort of adventure hooks get fed to your players as complications or results of the actions that your Bastion is attempting to take. So the players look at the game from the perspective of, we control this Bastion, and our characters, like our highest ranked characters, are like the guild leaders. But you can have this cascading, nested, adventuring teams of lower levels that can deal with lower or appropriate level threats. So if you want to lean into downtime activities, like if you want to do character advancement downtime, like you need 1 week per level gained to gain another level. If your 14th level characters are trying to get to 15th level, they could be down for like 14 or 15 weeks. So if the world keeps turning and every week you can issue new orders to your Bastion is going to be generating new complications that is going to force your players to stop their decompression process, and they're going to stay at level 14 while they deal with this other threat. And once that threat's resolved, then they can go back onto their downtime and start to chew through those 15 weeks. Maybe your players would rather have maybe like a 9th level team that can then go out and deal with these mid-tier problems while your high-ranked characters are recuperating and gaining a level. So you have this nested cascade of different level characters. I used to moderate a play-by-post website back in the early 2000s, like 2006, 2007, around there. It's now called RPG Crossroads. It's a huge play-by-post site, and I ran so many Eberron play-by-posts there. They asked me if I'd be willing to moderate the Eberron site, the sub-channels there, so I said yeah. But at one point, we were using this cascading system where we had the main characters had an airship that was going around Eberron, and they were 16th level. And they had a druid. One of their characters was a druid, so the druid established a grove, and then they made a group of ninth level adventurers that could use the manifest zone that the grove was located at to be able to pierce and go into like the Feywild and have ethereal and elemental adventures if they wanted. And then things would randomly show up at their grove to potentially cause problems. So they'd have this ongoing site. They set up traps and stuff like that. And then they created 4th level characters below that, which were characters that they could afford to send out into the environment and go fetch stuff or deal with low-level threats. So this is where all these ideas are coming from. I ran that campaign. Granted, it's play-by-post, so pacing's different. But it ran for about 2 years, and we had 3 different groups at those different levels that were all gaining levels as the facility, the grove, was increasing to grow in size, and the airship that they were rolling around with also continued to expand in power. It was a lot of fun. And most of the adventures that they went on were generated as a result of whatever shenanigans were going on at the Grove. And as a play-by-post, they were just basically switching which characters they were using at the moment just to start shit with each other, just to get conversations going. And as a DM, I could just start peppering in external influences to help modify that conversation. And before you know it, they whipped up a new adventure. Hey, let's send our 5th level guys off after that dude to find out what's going on. And then that becomes like a recon mission that we would play by post through. So, but PvP is such a different creature than at the table playing. It's a lot of fun if you haven't explored it. I'll probably spend time talking about it in the future if there's interest. But so where we're at, so just again, this is the process that we go through to be able to make these things. I'm trying to hopefully instill the thought process, like the procedures and the attitude and mentality that goes on with this, kind of like how West Marches are different from a static campaign. It's presented differently, and there's different protocols. A Bastion campaign is similar to that in that it has its own protocols established for how you present episodic adventures that are, again, driven by the successes and failures of the Bastion roles that you're making to succeed at different tasks. So having said all that, let's go in here and see how they're describing each of these Bastion events that occur, and we can then extract from that what kind of adventures can we pull from that? What kind of threats do they present? Are there like categories of threats that we're seeing present here in the DMG? So I'm just going to go through these things and start just picking these things apart. Just like we picked apart all the facilities over the past 7 sessions, we're going to now dig through all of the potential Bastion events that can occur to see how we can break those up into complications. So, Bastion events. Immediately after the characters issue a maintain command, blah, blah, blah. Bastion events occur only when a Bastion is operating under the maintain order, which, again, we just explained is very different for us. Means, and this is where it talks about like taking on the persona of NPCs. In the case of the campaigns that I've ran in the past, you would actually have an entire additional adventuring party. The Asteroid Belt mining campaign that we're running for Eberron, we have 4 teams. We have a diplomat team, we have a dungeon delving team, we have an espionage and encounter spy team, and we have a military mecha combat team. So we can we have different gears of adventure that we can shift into. And so when complications get presented, this is a military challenge. You're going to be running around in 20-foot war mech to fight giant monsters. Here's another complication. There's some sort of kyber in the center of this platinum asteroid. If you can clean it up, that's going to be a huge paycheck for us. And we're seeing that Droam is starting to send spies into our territory to find out our military capabilities. Do you want to try to sabotage them, or do you want to convert that into a diplomacy mission where you're calling out Droam at their embassy and requiring reparations for violating your space? Which one of those complications sounds most interesting to you, and how do you want to resolve them? And last time we did this, we haven't done any mecha combat for a while, so let's gear up in some fighter craft and fly out there to see what the problem is in that sector of space. Oh crap, it's 200 foot space squids. They're eating our ships. We better shoot those things. So it became a run and gun asteroid combat where they're chasing basically 200-foot octopuses that could look like rocks. If they take the corner around and they would just melt their camouflage into being rocks. So with the map set up with all the asteroids and stuff, they were trying to make sure they didn't lose sight of the octopuses at any time. So the challenge of the adventure was to keep guns aimed on the shape-shifting camouflage monsters at all times. And when they lost angle, they would just disappear. And they're like, fuck. And so there was various, there's the mining operation, there's the ore, there's the ore pipeline of ships coming and going, and then there's the command center. So when they lose sight of the octopus, it would sneak off, and then it would start to attack another target. So they had to kind of do a tower defense of where's it going to come at us next, and can we corner it? And once they could get a lock on it, they could start, killing it. And once they killed all of them, they claimed calamari as their loot from that. And so they gained advantage on all of the recruiting and morale rolls they were making for the next season, because everyone was eating big squid. So that was that adventure. And then they moved on to a dungeon delve. So, but yeah, there you go. And then that diplomacy thing with Droam and the Kyber asteroid, those were both successfully resolved by the Bastion. So they used military to chase off Droam, and they used a dungeon delving team, NPCs, to clean out the Kyber, and it was just inky darkness. There was some weirdness in there, but it doesn't seem to have any lingering effects. They just needed to get some direct light in there to clear out the shadows. And once they did, the haunting, sickly, dark feeling went away, and everything was okay. They mined it. So, but that's easy resolution, but they had to take that extra step to resolve it. So that's essentially what this process is of taking on that persona. That's how we're resolving it in my current campaign. So let's look. All is well. Nothing significant happens. So there's if you happen to issue if you don't issue any orders to your Bastion, they're just kicking back, there's a 50% chance that all is well. So if all is well, nothing significant happens. We're on the following table, fleshing out the details as you see fit. Accident reports are way down. So let's look at what kind of what inventory of tasks is being generated with this Bastion idea. So I'm just gonna crack open a secondary window here real quick. We're gonna go accident report is a potential complication. They're gonna tell us why things are okay, and we're going to convert that into this is a potential problem. So them saying that, yeah, there was a like leaky roof was fixed. Like them having a leaky roof in the first place was a complication that got glossed over as this would have been a problem, but we automatically fixed it. So you remove that as something that needed to be resolved. So let's go with facilities are being damaged, weather or monster. No vermin infestation to report. That's like a non-thing. So instead, it's harvest, plant, animal, materials are infested. You know who lost their spectacles again. Let's see. Bastion hirelings become compromised. There you go. It's and we can lean into what each of these things mean. That's like a really. I'm sure you've already thought of like 3 ways that a Bastion hireling could have been compromised, but we'll lean into that. One of your hirelings adopted a stray dog. Let's see. Unvetted NPC. Unvetted creature. NPC. Stow away. We're just gonna call him a stowaway, even though it might be like a fixed location. It's not technically a stowaway, but that's like the attitude. I don't know what a stowaway like at a butcher's shop would be. Like, what would that be? It would be like a squatter, unvetted creature, NPC, squatter, stowaway. That's the right word. Equals. You receive a lovely letter from a friend. Ally, outreach, call for help. Ally, distant ally offers adventure or call for help. Some practical joker has been putting rotten eggs in people's boots. Let's see. Gremlins, mischief, creatures, harassing Bastion. Someone thought they saw a ghost. Ghost, gremlin, mischief creature, harassing your Bastion. In that case, like, you need to locate the gremlins in your workshop. Maybe if you're a low-level character, that's a decent challenge. Get rid of the gremlins without destroying the workshop in the process. So it's one of those, like, people like to talk about, like, creating secondary goals inside of your combat encounter. Every time you miss an attack against the gremlins, you damage something in your workshop. The damage that you deal, multiply that by 10. That's how many gold pieces worth of damage you've done to your workshop while you're battling these gremlins. Narrate appropriately. At the end of it, if you've gotten rid of the gremlins successfully, you still damaged the place and you need to recuperate that loss. Maybe if you're a very low level guild, Bastion, 1,000 gold worth of damage to your workshop, that's significant, because a second, an uncommon magic item only costs 400 gold. It's like, that's a lot of my time, man. Like, you really wrecked that place. How do you expect to get that repaired? Now you need to spend, either take treasure that you found and throw it away and give it to your Bastion to repair the Bastion, or you go on a mission to find replacement materials, or you issue a task, you issue an order to your Bastion to restock, and that then becomes probably a very easy roll. But it's still something that would tie up your Bastion's resources as a result of your team clumsily resolving the gremlin that has invaded your workshop. So again, if it's a Bastion first campaign, losing 3 points of resources when, like, at second rank you can have at most 8, that's a big bite out of what your team, like what your Bastion can do. You're going to be operating on the like at shoestring budget right now for like the next probably 3 or 4 weeks while you look to recover those lost resources. Or you go on a really profitable heist, or you score a big trade, or you delve a dungeon and find a hella treasure hoard, and that makes up for all the gold, and now you can stockpile some of it in case you lose resources in the future. At second rank, each resource is worth 1,000 gold pieces, so you can recuperate that loss immediately by just dipping into your bank and just buying out the lost resources. 100 gold, 1,000 gold, 10,000 gold, 100,000 gold, 1 million gold at 5th rank. So at 5th rank, 17th level, you do seriously have like piles and piles and piles worth of gold value and treasure hoards, which seems ridiculous. But again, a gem has the same weight. In 2024, a gem has the same weight as a coin. You can have 50 gems per pound, and a single gem can weigh, or can be valued at, say, 20,000 gold. So you could have a pound worth of these amazingly expensive gems, and that would be a 20,000 times 5. That'd be 1 million gold. No, yeah, it would be 20,000 times 50. Am I mathing that correctly? I'm gonna press buttons just to make sure, because for some stupid reason I don't believe it. 20,000 times, yeah, 1 million gold. There you go. So you could potentially have like an amethyst dragon that's sitting on a dragon hoard of 20,000 gold piece gems. That if you can just, all you gotta do is steal satchels worth, and you're freaking set. So, but that's a decent 17th level adventure to take on that kind of stuff. So there you go. So that's the this is the all is well. So let's see. Accident disables facility, weakens hirelings. All is well. Bastion events inverted. Let's go down here. I think a lot of this document is clipping, but I think you probably only need to see the front end of it for it to feel good. So let's go with that. Bastion tracker. Players can use the Bastion tracker sheet as a record of the facilities and other characteristics of the Bastion. Encourage your players to list their hirelings on the sheet and develop them more fully as NPCs on separate sheets, perhaps using the NPC tracker in Chapter 3. Similarly, the Bastion tracker provides space to indicate the spaces for each special facility, but encourage players to draw maps of their own bastions. See Bastion maps earlier in the chapter. We will build our own tracking sheet. The track is basically like a mana playmat. You'll have your Bastion points. That is basically your mana pool. And you'll have X amount of orders that you can issue at any given time, given the rank of your Bastion. You invest points into those orders to gain inspiration dice to increase the results of your ability, your Bastion check roll, your Bastion test that you roll, the D20 test. It's now a Bastion test to succeed at your goal. Ice. So we need to build a tracking sheet. So create a Bastion tracking sheet. There. Settlements should actually be up at the tail end of facilities. Rip. There we go. And Bastion events. Pretty good. Okay, attack. A hostile force attacks your Bastion, but it's defeated without contest. Roll 6d6 for each die that rolls a 1. One Bastion defender dies. Remove these Bastion defenders from your Bastion's roster. If the Bastion has 0 Bastion defenders, one of the Bastion's special facilities, determined randomly, is damaged and forced to shut down. A special facility that shuts down can't be used on your next Bastion turn, after which it is automatically repaired and made operation again at no cost for you, and your character may have never been there. And if you're already issuing the maintain command, basically it just means that that facility doesn't do anything for the time being. I don't think there's any really drawbacks to having had that happen. Under most circumstances, this is completely irrelevant. This literally doesn't matter unless the facility that gets randomly shut down was doing something important for you. But you don't do anything important when you issue the maintain. The reason you issued the maintain task is because you weren't doing anything special with your Bastion facility. And if you're not doing anything special with your Bastion facility, it being under attack, disabling the Bastion facility doesn't matter. So it's a nothing burger event. Again, that is my complaint with the Bastion system, is that kind of like AI, they've invested a lot of word into a lot of nothing. There's a lot of detail about nothing specific. So that's my general criticism about 5e, I guess, design. Attack, quote unquote attack. Let's see. Sabotage disables facilities, Bastion resources. Let's see. Rivals or hostile forces siege the Bastion, preventing trade and harvest orders, for instance. Lunchy munchies. Yes. You're not being nitpicky. The spice must flow. Hopefully this stuff makes some sense to anybody that might be listening. I love doing this stuff. Absolutely love building systems like this. It's like building random like wandering monster tables. Just making tables is so much fun. I absolutely just love it. Super, super fun. Let's see. Sabotage disables facilities, Bastion resources, rivals or hostile forces siege the Bastion. Let's see. Bandits, raid storehouse or trade routes or settlement. There could also be hostile governance, seizing franchises, storehouses, and settlements. Those are ideas that exist. I don't even need to see the whole thing right now. We're just spitballing. So yeah, that's more in depth. This could be we can explore the idea of attack more deeply, and then get into different ranks and different facilities or orders that can be targeted by these things. Or rather, once we get done with this and we see how all of these different tasks might relate to the 7 different types of orders that exist, we can then create separate complication tables for each order issued, and we can have like a CR appropriate threat for each rank that your Bastion is at from 1 to 5. Yeah. So rank 1 is 1st level, rank 2 is 5th level, 9th level, 13th level, 5th rank is effectively 17th level. So yeah, like at 5th level, like a 5th level Bastion that specializes in research has been issued the order of discovering the name Baphomet's true name. You are a 5th rank Bastion. You are like the College of Alexandria. If you don't already have that answer in the halls of your books, you have access to powerful oracles that may be able to find that answer from the far realms or ancient gods. And if you don't hit that DC 30 check, because learning the true name of Baphomet would probably be a DC almost impossible task to perform, and if your Bastion doesn't hit it, they may find themselves under the attack of a legion of devils under Baphomet's command that want to burn the College of Alexandria to the ground, and that becomes your new adventure. Fight the horde, as it were. So that's an idea behind attack. Or like if you have a pipeline established that's like getting you blubber from the North Pole, maybe there's pirates that have started picking off North Shore ships. So until you take care of the pirates, you can't get your blubber. You know, stuff like that. Maybe you need that blubber to make a specific, like a different type of magic item or something. Criminal hireling. One of your Bastion's hirelings has a criminal past that comes to light. When officials or bounty hunters visit your Bastion with a warrant for the hireling's arrest, you can retain the hireling by paying a bribe. Otherwise, the hireling is arrested and taken away. If this loss leaves one of your facilities without any hirelings, that facility can't be used on your next Bastion turn. The hireling is just automatically replaced for you next turn. So you can either keep them this turn if you're actually doing something with your Bastion. It'll cost you up to 600 gold pieces to do so. Otherwise, that facility is disabled and it comes back online automatically, and you didn't have to spend any money next week. If you had issued a command and that facility was randomly selected as being troubled, then the criminal hireling would have been associated with that specific facility. That facility goes down, and it just delays whatever it is that you're doing by 1 week, and then everything comes back on and it's fine. You could use that as a means of, again, if you're using this Bastion campaign idea, this can then become a theme to a campaign. Like you're now this criminal, like you've just acquired angst from a local crime lord, for instance. Criminal hireling. Let's see. Do we have spy? Guess this could qualify as guest as well. Criminal hireling can secret agent, sabotage, assassinate effort, which kind of blends into the attack idea above. It could be local mob, boss, offended by Bastion employing the criminal. Like, that used to be my safekeeper. Why do you have my safekeeper now? What happened? I hate you. I'm going to kill you. Let's see. It could be local superpower, local government, superpowers attempt to detain your hirelings, disrupting operations of disrupting the operation of your Bastion. What else could we pull from here? Criminal hireling. Yeah, attempting to disrupt could be like shutting your facility down, arresting you for employing a criminal of that sort, potentially just like destroying it, or it could also be like reputation sabotage. Like, these guys hire criminals, don't do business with them. Extraordinary. I am in no way slighting Wizards for pursuing this neutral gear approach to the Bastion system. Again, it's a lot of words about not a lot of substance. So I disparage them a lot for that. But mostly where my chiding comes from, supposedly the people that are making these games have a long history of playing D&D back into the AD&D era, but you're not really seeing a lot of that old school Dominion style mentality being reflected in what these Bastions are. It's very much like we know where we come from, but we don't want to carry the good with us into the future. We're just going to forget about it and like rebuild everything from scratch without really remembering all the things that D&D used to be. And that, I just wish they have all these books on the DMsGuild. I think it would be super cool if, like, when they presented Spelljammer, it's like there is a wealth of content on DMsGuild for you to learn about the Inhuman Wars, or for you to look at what Kryn Space is like if you like Dragonlance. Like, these things exist already, and like they did the plane shift PDFs that gave you ideas about like what an MTG campaign setting might feel like in D&D. They could do the same as like, hey, here's the Strongholder, like Spelljammer. Here's the Inhuman Wars box set. Here's how that might make sense in 5e, and just build a primer with it and bundle the primer with the thing for sale on DMsGuild. And now they can replenish all those second edition resources to become useful for the 5e audience. what Wizards obviously doesn't want to invest time and energy investing into deep background and campaign lore. Most of that stuff already exists in other editions of the game. They just need to get over themselves about their profit line and what kind of message they're sending. It's like there's a lot of really good things in here that you can extract with that's ready for you to use. You don't have to make it up if you don't want to. Just use this stuff and just use the 5e rules that we're offering for you to convert. Anyway, that's obviously my thinking's flawed. Otherwise, they'd be doing it already. So I don't get it. But that's the kind of world. That's the kind of world I like to see. So, friendly visitor. That's different from a guest. Extraordinary opportunity. A Hero's Bastion hosts a spring festival to which everyone is invited. Your Bastion is given the opportunity to host. We are given the opportunity to host an important festival to celebrate or celebration. Fund the research of a powerful spellcaster or appease a domineering noble. Work with the DM to determine the details. If you seize this opportunity, you must pay 500 gold to cover the cost. That would be the low end of a rare item. That'd be like a third rank task to pull it off properly, basically a DC of 20 to be able to pull this thing off appropriately. In return, your Bastion gains a sudden influx of recognition and attention, prompting the DM to roll again on the Bastion events table, re-rolling this result if this result comes up again. If you decline the opportunity, you don't pay the money, nothing else happens. Okay, sure. Let's see. Your Bastion gains renown to your benefit or detriment. Let's see. Unsavory creature requests help, offers adventure hook, which I think we saw up above under all as well. Extraordinary opportunity. Let's see. Rival Bastion is bankrupting. Resources and hireling. Rival Bastion is bankrupting, creating opportunity. Is bankrupting. Rival Bastion is bankrupting. You can poach resources and hirelings. Let's see. What's another extraordinary event? Momentous occasion. Places Bastion in the spotlight. That's kind of the same as gaining renown. Momentous occasion. Let's see. Temporarily spikes Bastion dice or available resources. It feels pretty good. As long as I got three or more things, I think we're okay with moving on. Because again, we're going to try to parse these out into separate categories from the group. So there can be redundancies in here that just helps boil down the table to like a D6. Or ideally, what I want is a D12 table, and and every two options, it escalates in difficulty. Like 1 to 4 will be very basic, easy, mundane things that a first rank Bastion might deal with, or that's going to be just like comically easy for a higher rank Bastion to resolve. But as like you roll higher and higher on the die rolls, it becomes a more and more difficult complication that you bring upon yourself for reaching so high to the stars. So like sometimes you pull down a comet and it crushes your city. That just kind of happens. So the threats are going to escalate, and the potential rewards from those escalations will similarly ramp as you go from a D4 to a D8 to D12. Blah. Guest. Oh wait, friendly visitor. So we're looking at complications. So inverted. Is that how we're doing that? Inverted, yeah. I feel like I need to turn down the volume of my microphone here. There we go. Hopefully that'll be better. Friendly visitors come to your bastion seeking to use one of your special facilities. They offer D6 times 100 gold pieces for briefly use of the facility. For example, a knight might need to use her smithy to replace horseshoes, or repair a damaged weapon, or a suit of armor, or a sage might need your arcane study to help them settle a dispute. This use of the facility doesn't interrupt any orders you've issued to it. So, friendly visitor, inverted. How do we do? Facilities, resources, hired to resolve NPC task, reducing your productivity, something like that. Let's see. Maybe friendly visitor. Let's see. Visiting NPC pursued by significant threat. What's another one? Let's see. Facilities, resources hired to resolve NPC. Visiting NPC pursued by a significant threat. Rival bastions, seeking partnership or attempting or plants a spy. Those are decent. Let's go to 6. Again, if we have at least 3 things, we're okay. We can move on. That was friendly visitor. Now let's go with guest, which may well be the same thing as a friendly visitor. Don't know yet. Don't know. Just don't know. Let's find out together. Hello. A friendly guest. Different from a friendly visitor, a friendly guest comes to stay at your bastion. Determine the guest by rolling the table below. And work with your details to flesh out the details. The guest is an individual of great renown who stays for 7 days. At the end of the 7 days, the guest gives a letter of recommendation. See, marks of prestige. Ooh. Guest. High renown. NPC. Takes interest in in Bastion. Questing. Oh, that's the refuge. Refugees. Asylum seeker. Asylum E. Seeking. Let's see. NPC seeking asylum with Bastion. Refugees seeking shelter. Guest is a mercenary, giving you 1 additional Bastion defender. Let's see. Mercenaries with history. Seeking employment. Friendly monster. Defends your bastion. Friendly monster. Seeking alliance. Refuge. Lost hirelings. One of your Bastion's special facilities randomly loses its hirelings. The cause of their departure is up to you. The facility can't be used on your next Bastion turn, but the hirelings are immediately replaced at no cost for you at the end of that week. So, somebody stole Bob. Who cares? I wasn't using that Bob facility anyway. Hey, we now have a Barbara instead. Who cares? Whatever. Kidnapping. Sabotage facility by stealing hirelings. Hirelings go on strike. Sabotage facilities. Hirelings kidnapped. Ransomed. Hirelings stolen and ransomed. Hirelings go on strike. Hirelings harmed by accident. Hirelings disappear. There you go. Magical discovery. Your Bastion is called on to help a local... No, that's a request for aid. There we are. Your hirelings discover or accidentally create an uncommon magic item of your choice at no cost to you. The magic item must be a potion or a scroll, something consumable of low value, of course. Instead, lost hireling. Let's go with magical discovery inverted. Items created by Bastion is cursed, poisoned. Rift opens, leading to adventure, expelling monsters. Let's see. Accidentally create sentient magic items. I wish they hadn't gotten rid of bonds, flaws, traits, and ideals from backgrounds and characters, because they were such a great mechanic to just express stuff. Like you create a magic, like artificial, you create a sentient weapon. Its flaws and bonds are the same as yours, but its traits and ideals are different. Roll randomly. So you would take your own background table and you would roll what those bonds and ideals are and keep the same flaws. And anyway. Sorry, I just heard an ice cream truck. That's really weird to hear an ice cream truck in December. But I heard it. It's out there. It's out there. I have a weakness for ice cream sandwiches. I admit it. 1, 2, 3. What's another magical discovery? Rift opens, sentient magic item, cursed or poisoned items. Accidentally create living spell. Attacks facilities. That might make sense. 9. What else you got? What you got? Refugees. I have refugees listed up here somewhere, I think. A group of refugees fleeing from a monster attack, natural disaster, or some other... Ooh, natural disasters. trigger natural disaster. Natural disaster, whether it disrupts resources or issued orders. There we go. I'm up to 8. I'm up to 8 on the inverted all as well table. There's a lot of options going on. I think we're going to be able to boil down some of these, but it's also a really good array of just general complications that can come up. And I do not disparage the statement, talk to your DM about the details, but from this perspective, it's create an adventure hook of the appropriate level to the characters that are going to resolve it. Make that your adventure and sally forth. The way that we run our campaign is we're dealing with an adventure. At the beginning of that adventure, they know what complications are currently exist. They choose one complication to resolve themselves as an adventure, and then the other complications that arose, they relegate to the guild or to the Bastion to resolve with an ability check themselves. When they finish the current adventure, and everything's episodic. So, like, currently we're running our longest adventure. It's a dungeon delve into a temple, an abandoned temple that's full of traps that was found inside of an asteroid cave. So, like, there's no way we're going to mess around with that temple, but we want the ore from this place, and we're afraid of cracking it open and unleashing something. So we need you to delve that forgotten temple thing and find out what's going on with it. And it's been like 6 sessions, which is basically a 6-hour game, because we only play 1 hour a week. So it's been 6 sessions so far, about 6 hours of play with anywhere from 3 to 5 players typically. And they've got maybe 1 session left. So the longest adventure we've had yet in this Bastion episodic adventure format we've been developing here. Most adventures are one-shots that can be resolved in 3 to 5 hours. Like a night of entertainment using the system. And then that resolves. While that's being resolved, when they finish that adventure, they collect whatever rewards it is that they're supposed to get for it, free up the complication that was caused, and then we roll the results of all the other complications that the Bastion was attempting to resolve. And when we roll those, I will already know success versus failure, what happens in either circumstance. And so if the die roll is successful, I feed to them the good news of what they get out of resolving that. Or if they fail those complications escalate into a higher tier difficulty that could spiral. I mean, it's already going to be more difficult for them to achieve. It could spiral away from them into a whole new line of threats and complications that could plague other tasks that they attempt. So abandoning a complication can become a seeded adventure arc or path of adventure that gets opened up because they were not able to contain it when it could have been resolved. I mean, how many times do you hear that in adventures or in movies? Like this shouldn't have gotten to this point. This has gotten out of hand. It's because they spent too little time investing direct attention into it as fixers and relegated it to incompetent hirelings that were ill-equipped to handle the job. But that's such a basic trope in stories and movies in particular that is really easy to pick up on. That's our new adventure. There you go. Mother's gone rogue. It's time to shut that AI down and regain control of the ship. Crap, there's monsters. Or crap, there's monsters. Damn it, our ship is doing protocols against us because it's afraid of the monsters. Like what a great way to cascade through that, where Mother is the Bastion under AI control, and the Bastion is your spelljamming ship. And it doesn't like the most recent asteroid that you bumped into. It apparently picked up an infestation of something, and now it's trying to kill you. Crap, our officer is actually a robot. Love that stuff. That's so fun. Refugees. Asylum seekers running. Asylum seekers, fleeing monsters. Disasters. Persecution. There we go. What else can refugees be? This kind of blends in with the lost. This already kind of blends in with guest, friendly visitor, and criminal hirelings and attack. There's a lot of crossover that I'm picking up here. I mean, the refugees, asylum seekers, like where they came from could be variable, and the higher the rank, the task, the more likely it's from another plane of existence or another crystal sphere, perhaps. I don't feel like I need to dive into the detail of that. Yeah, we're just gonna leave it like that. This is an instance where I think just that one bit is probably fine. Request for aid. This is also something that I feel we've already folded into the above narratives, but we're listing it here for thoroughness. Your bastion is called upon to help a local leader. Perhaps there's a search for a missing person, or brigands are plaguing the area. If you help, you must dispatch one or more bastion defenders. Roll 1d6 for each bastion defender you send. On a total, if the total is 10 or higher, the problem is solved, and you only roll a d6, so you have to send out at least 2. If you dispatch one bastion defender, roll a d6, and if you don't get a 10, you fail. If the problem is solved, but the reward is halved, and one of your bastion defenders is killed. So if you send one bastion defender to resolve it, you'll never hit a 10. You don't get any gold, and that bastion defender is killed. By God, I can hear myself still. Hold on, I need to figure out how do I fix that. There. Hopefully that's gonna be better. Oh God, that's horrible. Request for aid. Let's see. Escort mission. Seek knowledge. Request for aid. Use orders. Use orders for NPC, not you. Lose resources. Let's see, escort mission. Contain a threat. Anything else in here? Scavenger hunt. Maybe that's not different from escort mission, but we'll find out. Treasure. Your bastion acquires an art object or magic item determined by rolling on the table below and then rolling on the specific table in Chapter 7. How the bastion acquires this treasure is up to you. It might represent an inheritance, a gift from a guest or an admirer, a thief, or a fortunate delivery. If you're in the bastion, you can claim the treasure immediately. Otherwise, it is placed in storage until you can claim it. Art object, art object, art object. Common magic, uncommon magic, rare magic. All right. Treasure. Let's see. Inverted. And then after treasure, that is literally it. Okay, cool. Treasure inverted. Let's see. Cursed item. We've seen that before. Cursed item. Loss of resources. Let's see. Storehouse. Disrupted. Raided. Let's see. Former owner of looted magic seeks their possessions. Yeah, that's pretty good. And what? That's it? We don't care about the space of a facility. You can work with your DM to determine the size of the facility that you have. We provide guidelines for it, more guidelines than they provide here. Snarkiness instilled. But yeah, the size of, like, the actual size of facility, like if you're a boat maker, a vast facility is still going to be too small to put a hammerhead ship inside of. So the sizes that they use are, apply a massive grain of salt to that. So let's see. What does it say about the fall of a bastion? This could be useful. A player character can lose their bastion in the following ways. This divestiture, a character can give up their bastion at any time, releasing the bastion's hirelings and abandoning the location. The divested bastion is quickly vacated, is eventually looted, and might even be burned to the ground. Neglect. If a character issues no orders to their bastion for a number of consecutive bastion turns equal to the character's level, typically because the character is dead or otherwise out of commission, the hirelings abandon the bastion and the site is eventually looted or burned to the ground. If the characters return later, they can start a new bastion, as always, because it didn't cost anything to do it. Perhaps building it amid the ruins of the old one, because double down on bad. Ruination. Drawing the ruin card from the deck of many thanes instantly deprives a character of their bastion. When such an event occurs, the player can decide which terrible fate befalls the bastion. The bastion might be sacked by an enemy or destroyed by an earthquake, for example. Regardless of how the bastion falls, the player can work with the DM to establish a new bastion and determine how it comes into being. The new bastion also starts with two basic... Blah, blah, blah. All right, don't care about that. So, let's see. Lack of neglect equals facility bastion ignored too long. Hirelings bail. Rival Bastion is bankrupting. Oh, yeah, that's actually good. Criminal hireling, neglect, ruination. Oh, no, divestiture is loss of resources. Friendly visitor, guest, lost hirelings, magical discovery, refugees, request for aid. Divestiture, and then ruination. Treasure, like inverted treasure. Or a there. All right, so that's our full list. I'm going to cut. Paste. Perfect. Let's hit save there real quick. It's 3:30. What, we've been at this for 2 hours? Yep, 2 hours. You know what? This feels like a good breaking point. I'm going to be back tomorrow, and we're going to keep working on this stuff. So we'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 Seattle time, which will be 12:30 East Coast. We've got a stack of events that we can start breaking up into groups of complications. We could potentially like just... we can find themes and commonalities between them and then break them up into subgroups. And then we can place a table of type of complications, and each of those options in the complications list will then lead to a subgroup of more detailed complications. And then for each of that subgroup complication, we could potentially have a tiered group of escalation from 1 to 5, depending on the rank of the order that was issued that created the complication that can eventually escalate to a bigger problem. And the idea is that as we attempt to resolve a complication, and if we have cascading failures, it shifts away from one category into another. Like maybe it started off as an attack and you failed to hold off the attack. So now instead, maybe it becomes an inverted friendly visitor and they start camping your bastion. Like if you fail to fight off raiders that are looting your gold mine, maybe they raid it so much that they take possession of your gold mine, and now they're fortifying it and trading gold out of your mine with another rival bastion facility. So that could like cascade through. You can't fight them off. They've taken control. Now they like at your third rate of failure, they've now committed those resources as their own to another rival bastion that you now have to combat or overcome somehow to divest them from your gold mine so you can get your gold mine back from the raiders that took it and lock those raiders down so they don't become a problem in the future. Like cascade, cascade, cascade. So I think it's probably going to end up being like a lot of different examples and explanations and hypotheticals that we pulled together. But maybe it'll be self-expressive once we go through that cascading and grouping process. And then on top of that, the other thing that we have to group is we've taken the time to break down the ranks and resources of these unlisted facilities that we hadn't resolved yet. And so facilities are either like passive, like buff effects that our Bastion gives us or the Bastion itself, that you invest points and leave them locked as though like you're sustaining a spell effect with tapping your mana to keep it on. That's the same thing as what facilities do. They're ongoing buff effects that you provide to yourself or your Bastion. And then there's actual Bastion orders, which allows you to do new things, find new people, establish new trade lines, begin operations of harvesting a new type of material that you need, sell off that material for you to establish a lifestyle to maintain for your Bastion. So you've got your points, you got a bucket of points that you can then spend to either sustain facilities that give you ongoing perks, or you can use whatever points are there and you can spend those points to gain inspiration dice to increase the result of the Bastion tests that you roll to attempt to complete a task, an order that was issued to you. So that's basically the jive of how this thing works. So when we come back tomorrow morning, that'll be at 9:30. That's 18 hours from now. We'll be back on, and we'll start digging away at both of those. And once we I might decide to work with complications first. That feels more fun right now, but I might bounce between the two of them. Like when I need to take a breath away from the complications, maybe we'll go in and we'll start breaking apart the crafting, empowering, and harvesting scaffolds, so that if you want something, you can easily see what order needs to be issued to get it, and what the DC of doing so would be. So you can line up, is my Bastion strong enough to be able to do that? Do I need to just go out and get it directly? Is there a mission I can perform to get it instead? Or is there somebody I can hire that can give me access to it? So you'll have those 4 points of access that you'll be able to assess when you see what it is. And it's a very simple scaffold. It's just everything's either going to be divided between plant, animal, and mineral materials. And then, of course, you have empower magic items, which is mana, the fourth meta currency, or the fourth meta resource that's dumped in on top of creating things. So, yeah, there you go. So that's it for now. We'll be back in 18 hours to continue this effort. Thanks a lot for anyone that tapped in and checked it out. I'm here 10 times per week. In the mornings, weekdays, I'm creating artwork. At lunchtime, evenings, and on the weekends, I'm doing game design, mostly for 5e right now, but we will be delving into our own role-playing game. Probably, I want to say, I might start playtesting as early as like April or May maybe. And assuming the trademark process comes along, it takes months. Oh, that call I got yesterday, that ended up being a scam. So I'm glad I didn't give them any of my information. The patent and trade office never calls people. I got a confirmation for that on their website. So luckily the information that they had was information they gave me off of my form, so they didn't learn anything about me. But I didn't expect that. I was excited about the call, and suddenly something felt weird, so I just backed off. I was like, hey, if this is official, you've got the bureaucracy for this, so just send me stuff. And they never sent me stuff. So obviously a scam. Anyway, so that I'm just closing the loop on that. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thanks all for hanging out. Join my Discord. It's linked down in the description down below. A slew of books I've already published on DMsGuild are also listed down below. They all have free previews if you think they're cool and you want to see more stuff like that. If you buy it, I know that's a vote for more. So that curves into all that stuff very easily. So, yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.